It don't matter if you're rich or poor, I ain't gonna spend a bunch of money. I got a limited budget and I'm gonna put that to the test. We're gonna try and figure out a plan to remodel this for a very low price, under $100. So this was originally supposed to be a pollinator garden, and it got out of control, and we've been working on it here and there. But yeah, we need to totally redo this. This is not pollinator friendly. I know you're probably thinking, well, it's got flowers, it's pollinator friendly, right? Well, not so much. So we've got these lilies here, and I've been complaining that they don't bloom, and actually they're just about to bloom. So they are pretty when they bloom. I mean, you know, if you can get it to bloom and all that good stuff, it's fine. But the problem I have with these, if I get a cold and I go lay in the bed for a week, I don't see a bloom. That's not gonna work for me. So I wanna try and revamp this, and it's for a couple reasons. One is because we have our bees that, you know, we wanna make them pollinator friendly. We wanna provide them some pollen and nectar close to home. And two, we just want to make it a little bit more sightly. So I was talking to a friend, and she wants to redo her front garden as well. And I was, you know, getting ideas and stuff. And I was like, well, how much you got? How much you want to spend? And she threw out a budget. And if you're watching this, thank you for the idea. You know who you are. And I just kind of thought to myself, you know what? I could do the same thing here, and started thinking about ways to save money on this project. So that's what we're gonna do. Is I'm gonna try and revamp this bed here for under $100, at most $100, and I'm gonna utilize a couple different techniques and stuff like that to get it going. So we've got started on it a little bit, but I'm gonna step it out real quick and tell you how big it is, and then kind of walk around and show you what the ideal situation would be. This is a super technical way is 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, and then probably another 8 feet this way. So 9 foot by, and going up to here is 4 foot, so a 9 by 4. And then this little space right here is probably, I don't know, 3 to 4 feet by like a foot or 2. And so the hold up here and why we haven't done it is this. When I open this door, you can see I've got to get something low growing. I mean, I'd hate to put a bunch of work into it and just get ate up, you know what I mean? So usually I'm out here in the mornings, and this area is in the shade, and I wanted to come out here today so I could show you guys that it in fact does get a lot of sun. Same with the rest of my garden. And the problem is it gets the hot shade. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But I'm going to show you what I want to change, and then I'll kind of go through and tell you what my thought process is as of now, and kind of when we'll get started to get us in our best position. All right, so this year we did put in this waterfall, and we are going to factor that into the total cost, not to worry. This is the main connection for all my hoses, so I'm going to start here and just tidy this up a bit. We did put in this gardenia a couple years ago, and it's doing fine. I want to keep these foxgloves here and just kind of see how they go. This is a bonsai tree I've been growing for a couple years, and I wanted to thicken it up so it's actually going to stay here in this exact spot for about 3 years or so. So that's going to have to be just put on hold for right now. But all of this here we want to kind of work on. So the lavender does really, really good here. So we're not going to mess with that. And then here we've got all of these lilies that I have acquired. I'm going to pull all of those up. So when I get done, this whole area here is just going to be completely bare. And that's going to leave all the way around this corner and around this lavender. And then coming out here, we did plant this, I believe this is a bee balm. So we're going to leave that there. And then we have some random weeds and stuff. So we need to go out here. We're going to need to put border plants in. I've got this trellis that I've used, and I do have this Confederate jasmine on it, as you can see. So we may or may not leave that, I'm not sure. And we're not gonna really change the structure of it. The structure will change with the plants that we put in. I have a specific purpose for this garden. I want it to be bee friendly. I have honeybees that I want to be able to get pollen from here. So I want to do that. And then I want to keep it native. So native to my area at the most, but native to America, which, you know, if you do native to this area, to your area that you live in, instantly it gets easier. So we're gonna try and do that as much as possible. Now the other thing is I do have a soaker hose kind of weaved through here, and I may leave it there, but I honestly would rather have it so it's a drought friendly garden as well. And because this gets afternoon sun all summer and it gets really hot, it's gonna need to be heat tolerant on top of that. So, you know, we've got a lot of check marks to make on this. So that's gonna narrow down what we can and can't grow in here dramatically. And that's good, because if I had every option in the world, it'd be an issue. So here we have some lantana that we propagated. So we're definitely gonna try and use some lantana. And this is the biggest one, so if I can get it out of here without bothering these spiders. Yeah, see the roots are all popping out of the bottom? Perfect. So this will be the first thing that we're gonna put over here. And I'm just gonna take it and just set it in place for now. Not really worried about where it's gonna go at this moment. Now I'll take you to my other lantana and show you how big it is. So the lantana is good. It's definitely very happy here. It gets very big. Now the issue that I have with it is it doesn't grow like a bush. It does, but what happens in the wintertime is it basically dies back to the ground. So I don't have any kind of anchor point. So I would like to put some kind of flowering bush there or something, and we'll just have to kind of work on that. But let me show you what this lantana over here looks like after 3 years, and then we'll get into how we're gonna save some money. This lantana right here was that big 3 years ago, and now look at it. So plenty of flowers on it, great for butterflies and stuff, but I do not ever see my bees on it. So that is a bit of an issue. And it's an issue because what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, I have a specific purpose, but I don't want to be against, you know, just a certain pollinator. I want to please all the pollinators, and if that will help and fill in some gaps, then I'm definitely good with it. With it being such a small space, I am gonna have to be very drastic with how I trim it, but I'm okay with that. I think that lantana right there is done just fine. I'm gonna have to cut it way back this year, and we'll see how it holds. All right, so my money-saving techniques. So propagation is definitely gonna be one of them. Anything that I see fit to propagate, fine. I mean, that one lantana right there, that saves me 10 bucks. Right off the bat, totally free. So we're definitely gonna use that. I'm gonna put some wildflowers in there, but I'm gonna seed the wildflowers. And I was able to get some wildflower seeds from my bee mentor that he uses for his garden. So we've got some of those that we're gonna put in there. And we're gonna be putting a lot of wildflowers around our property too. Hopefully it works. So seeds, for sure, we're gonna be starting some seeds. I'm gonna be putting some salvia in there, maybe some blanket flower, something like that. Seeds are really cheap, really easy to grow. And what I'm gonna do, like getting up, but I'm gonna put them in the greenhouse. I'm gonna start them inside. I might even just start them outside in the greenhouse. And then I have one shelf, and on that shelf is where I'm gonna start the seeds for during the winter for these plants, and just let them do their thing. And you gotta think, I do a mass planting of some sort, and I buy a pack of seeds for $5, I can fill up that whole thing for $5. I mean, let's be honest. Now, I did put in the water fountain, like I said. We ended up spending about $50 on that, so we're gonna take that off the top, and we're gonna make it a $50 worth of plants that we're gonna put in there. And I'm also, so one thing I don't like is when people say, I did all this for this much, but I had this laser saw sitting around, and, you know, stuff that's not obtainable. So we're gonna try and make it as obtainable as possible. Now, one thing that I am willing to do, and I would recommend everybody else do, all of those lily bulbs there's probably 20, maybe even 30 lily bulbs over there. I think what I'm gonna do is when I pull them up, I'm gonna try and sell them. I'm gonna sell them for $1 a bulb. That's 30 extra bucks. Now, I am gonna add that 30 extra dollars if I can make it back onto the budget for the project. So let's not trip. If I can make the money, then I'm gonna do it, but if I can't, fine. I've got a friend who's got a different kind of lily that are really pretty, so maybe I'll put a couple of those in. I can get the lilies from her, even if I buy them $1, $2 each. You know, I'll just put a couple in, not like a huge mass planting. That's gonna be another way. And here's the biggest one right here. I told you earlier I wanted to put some kind of anchor bush in, right? The gardenia is an anchor for that corner. And what that means is that is going to be structure there all the time. The year round, there will always be some kind of structure there. So what I'm going to do this fall is I'm going to go out and I am going to try and get an anchor bush or two at a discount of 50% off. So when they're normally 30 bucks, I can get them for 15 bucks. Nothing wrong with it. These places just need it for tax purposes to clear it out. So we're definitely gonna try and do that, because let's say right now we got 50 bucks. We buy 2 bushes that are 30 bucks total for the 2 of them, like they're $15 each, maybe even get them cheaper, hopefully. Then that leaves us with 20 bucks left over. I've got the wildflowers. I got a helicopter flying by, so I hate those guys. I got the wildflower seeds, didn't cost me anything, and even if I did need to, I'd buy wildflower seeds, 10 bucks for a pound of them. So you got $10 left. Buy a pack of seeds. Let's say we buy 2 packs of seeds and we start them and we fill this up. Now we're at our $100 mark and we've got this bed totally full, because with packs of seeds, like I said, I plan to do mass plantings and get started. Now, I had to throw myself out of the swing. That thing sucks me in. Right here, what I'm thinking about doing is putting in some kind of, probably a low growing marigold down here. That every time I plant it, the bees are all over it and they love it. It stays low, it blooms profusely throughout the year, and in theory should reseed itself. I have plenty of seeds. That is the easiest seed to save known to man. Probably gonna do some zinnias in here. So we'll do some of those, get those going, and then you've got this thing filled up. Now on the non-native side, I do still want to keep the foxgloves in there because they are my all-time favorite flower. And these guys they're done for the year, but they were so beautiful and they've essentially been reseeding themselves. So hopefully they'll come back. If they don't, we'll get some seeds and start some. I don't know. I might even be able to find them on discount and do that as well. But check it out. My bee is getting some water. So one thing I've learned from watching the bees is they actually don't like the puddles of water. It seems like they like to just pull it off of wet surfaces and mud. I don't know what the story is with that, but once I pull this up and free that lavender, it's a pretty big plant. Now lavender grows really fast in my area, so I put in a plant that was a couple sprigs a couple years ago, and the next year it was quadruple the size, so there's plenty of space for that and to let it grow. And when you factor all of that together, we're gonna have hopefully a pretty good pollinator garden. So we'll see how it goes. Now the lilies, which I said, remember I told you like, hey, if I got a cold and missed it, you know, you don't really get it. The benefit with them is they're gonna give me foliage throughout the year. And so I'll still have some kind of interesting foliage and feature to that space. I'm also planning on doing coreopsis or tick seed, which is basically a wildflower, super easy to start from seed, and they reseed profusely. So the goal is to get this thing going with as much stuff that it's going to reseed itself as possible, and then just kind of see how it goes. The only thing I need to work on is border plants, and then we can go from there, and maybe something else for the trellis. Not quite sure what I want to do with that. If you guys have any suggestions about flowers or anything like that that would tick mark those boxes, which again are heat tolerant, drought tolerant, pollinator friendly, and native, there's 4, there's probably a 5th that I forgot already, then let me know in the comments, because I'm gonna be starting this in the fall. When it's cooler, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna rip up every single one of those lilies, get them out of there, and then start that process. And not only am I gonna do that garden for that amount, but I'm also gonna see if I can't do these 2 other spaces for even less. So this space has gotten out of control. We're gonna clear it up, and we're gonna try and do this for 40 bucks. And then we're gonna come over here, clear out this bed here, and anything that is good, leave it standing, anything else, weed it, and then we're probably gonna try and do this one for 40 bucks as well. We should have some multiple patches of flowers for about $200, and that's really gonna be the max that we can do this year, and we're gonna try and come under budget. I'll bring you every version of this project from today on. Whenever we work on that bed, I will bring it to you, and I will give you a running cost of what it's costing me to do it. And I'm also gonna put some echinacea, some coneflowers in there. So there is that. So that's everything that we're gonna do. We're gonna see how it works out, and we're gonna go from there. But I wanna prove to myself and to everybody out there that it doesn't have to be expensive to do it. And sometimes you just gotta go around your yard and split different things up to move them, and then you're off to the races. So let's see if we can do this thing. We're gonna do that for what now is gonna be 50 bucks. It was 100, but we put the waterfall in there. So please do remember that, and we'll go from there. So fingers crossed, and hopefully somebody will buy those lily bulbs, and we can make a little bit extra money to put into this project.